My name's Aubrey Lynch. I'm an Aboriginal elder in the Goldfields area. Of course, I'm 86 years old, got a family with 6 children, and from there I got 80 grandchildren, 80 by responsible jobs. At AC for 4 years, where I travelled to Canberra a lot, meeting other Aboriginal leaders all around Australia. The important one I had was chairman of the Aboriginal Land Trust in WA. Ernie Bridge appointed me to be the chairman. I worked as a chairman. I had delegates, 7 delegates from various parts of WA. The 7 of us all in there voicing our opinion on land issues, So we had all those positions in the past. So we done very well. So I done very well in the past, going out as a leader and had top position and doing it to the best of my ability, making sure that the job that you do it the way it should be done.
Do you want to do the acknowledgement now? The acknowledgement to this country?
First of all, I do a lot of acknowledgement to the country. An acknowledgement to the country is very important, because the word that you use for that is respect. I as a leader here, I can't go up to Broome and everywhere else, other areas where tribal people are, and I have to show respect when you go there. And they cannot feel comfortable until you do the welcome to the country, because that's an Aboriginal, they know it's very important that you do welcome to the country.
Thank you very much for your time with us today, Aubrey, to discuss leadership in community and what that means for Aboriginal people and how we work together for the next generation of leaders. I have the honour of reading some beautiful stuff about you, and so I'd like to discuss some of those things and your insight on. So you're a Mount Margaret man, and you've done some time in the mission. How do you think the mission has shaped you to be a leader?
I was brought up at Mount Margaret. I'm actually, with a lot of other kids, it was all placed in a home. Black mother, I got a black mother, I got a white father. And I know my white father. He never had nothing much to do with me from my upbringing. My black mother did. But the law is saying that during that period where part Aboriginal kids must be taken away from their black mothers and placed in the community, in a mission or some sort of institution, as long as they're separated from their black mothers, At Mount Margaret, it was run by a church crowd, they called, but I got placed in the home in 1943. Taken away, the police came in, chased us around, chased my mother and all the other mothers around, grabbed the Afghans kids off them, and put them straight in a home at the mission at Mount Margaret. So it was all placed in there under white families. So I grew up there. I stayed there until I was 1953, 1943 to 1953. It's been 11 years. I stayed in there, so it's been a long time. But we was under lock and key too. They lock you up at night and let you out in the morning. It's just like being locked away in the prison. I've addressed this at the prison as well. I made the prisoners aware of what happened to us at Mount Margaret. So Mount Margaret was a community where I have no regret really of Mount Margaret. A lot of other people running the missions there and all the other institutions. But Mount Margaret was something different, It actually put us in the home. And we had discipline at Mount Margaret. One of the main things that you have in life is discipline, We have to be put in the home and obey orders of the day, They got a policy in there, you should do this and that and all that. You have to abide by all that to be part of that community. So we had hundreds of boys and hundreds of girls, all in the home separate, living separately. They're living over there about 300 meters away. In the yard, the girls, ours would have got yards, but we're living in a dormitory there. All once living close together, bed close to each other, and things like that. But Mount Margaret was an area where they cared for us. They sent us to school 5 days a week, sports on Saturday, church on Sunday. So a bit of everything. And we had laws to abide by, and we have to make sure we carry out those laws. And as we grew up in Mount Margaret, we we grew up and we was told there that, you know, no one actually told us that we're not allowed to go to school. When we was president, the government said, don't worry about sending the kids to school. Let the Aborigines stay at home, as long as they're separated. But, you know, I can really say that what happened to us at Margaret, we got somewhere in life, you know. We had laws to abide by, 5 days a week at school. If you're late at school, you get the cane. All those things. You have to be on time. But, you know, we respect it because there's orders in place. But the thing is, by being restricted to those orders, we got somewhere in life. You know, a lady went away to be a matron. Went and trained in Melbourne. She can't do the training in WA. Went to Melbourne to train and come back as a matron. The government always wondering now what really happened at Mount Margaret. Something happened at Mount Margaret, and my story to that is we're disciplined, you know, because we got somewhere in life because of that. And obeying orders and things like that. That's why we got somewhere there. Some of our boys become preachers in their rights. I didn't know what, all children didn't know why we're in the home. No one told us why we got put in the home. We was only placed in there, and we had to work with the missionaries and do what we were told. But in 1953 was an interesting day that came up where the school teacher said to me, "You came now to the end of your school term." He said, "What are you doing next year?" And as a child, you know, I've been brought up as a foster child. I didn't know what I was supposed to do next year. But I was a big grown-up man then too, a young bloke. You know, around 17 years old now. I'm standing up there, don't know whether I was supposed to go to school or go out to work or what. I didn't know nothing, like any all the other kids. Then the teacher said to me, he said, "You're not allowed to come back next year." And I was dumbfounded. I didn't know whether who's managing me from there onwards or who's going to care for me. But not knowing too that I'm a man now too, you know. And I should be out in the world, I suppose, and the government law coming to an end. But every time we go to the airport, we get a check from our boss, you know. And the money that I get, they give me a check, £12 check, just for working 24 hours, nearly 24, 6 hours, like I work from 6 to 6 at night, 7 days a week. And in that 1 month, I get a salary, I get a check for £12. And my mate, this white bloke, £40. So he gets £40, I get £12. So I go into the check and pack it in the aspirin bag, put it in the bag, and things like that, and go straight back to work again. Not knowing that I still haven't turned 18 yet. Nothing is right. I'm still under the ward of the state, while I was on the farm. I could have been gone and went back to my own people back in the goldfields. Anyway, I stayed there till October. I stayed there till January, till October, and they took me back to Esperance. Still never told me, you know, about the law exists out there, what the law been that we was under. When I came back and I was working on a pastoral station, it's no longer the ward of the state. We had access to our file. So in other words, we can approach the government in Perth and ask for our native welfare file. So when I got that, then you start seeing in your file what it was all about in the past, you know. It was there, superintendent writing to the Commissioner of Native Welfare in Perth, Mr. Neville, correspondence backwards and forwards about me. Just imagine to all the part Aboriginal kids, but I'm only talking about me. Aubrey this, who's Aubrey's father? who fathered Aubrey. So all those things were going on. Where my mother gave birth, all these things, backwards and forward, all these correspondence, and finding out where we actually come from. So all that thing we started to find out. That's why, I've got all that in my mind, and I can present it out to other people and make them aware what really happened. I got no regret from that because they clothed us, fed us well. I think they said us we got basic education, wasn't allowed to go to high school, but we had all that at the mission. So you can't knock that back, because none of us were sent away to another mission. We was all placed. And I had my mum. When I come out of school, my mum was there. The creek bear to meet me still. We sit down and talk language. So that was the best part, You still had that contact with your parents. So that was going on at Mount Margaret there. So all those things, you get weighed up. Some bad things happen, some good things happen. So you have to balance it out, So I've no regret of Mount Margaret. We're still there. All the children there, children running around there in town. We follow the history back.
Well, that leads us to all your successions in life, because Aubrey, you are the first Aboriginal to join a tennis club.
At where?
A tennis club. Because you were the first Aboriginal to join a tennis club.
At where?
A tennis club?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so how was that?
I was in Esperance. Sheg, he's a great man for tennis, He taught us how to play tennis at Mount Margaret. And when I came in, I was a good tennis player then too. And he was in charge of the tennis club in Esperance. Shank was. So Saturday we go down there to play tennis in Esperance. And I believe that I'm still the first Aboriginal people that was playing tennis in Esperance. I believe that I was the first one that joined the Esperance Tennis Club to play tennis there because of how I'm bringing up with Shank, in the past.
And another succession in your life, you are the first Aboriginal of Justice of Peace in WA. Could you explain a little bit about that?
I was appointed JP in 1975.
Why were you a JP?
1975, that's way back during the Liberal government. And at the time, a lot of our Aboriginal people, we don't work with the Liberal government so much, because we was one disadvantage and things like we're fighting, getting the unions to assist us, So we was working under the Labor government and the unions a lot in the past because of our relatives been doing this, So we fell in the background of our people. But, as I grew up, I noticed a lot of what the JP's been doing to our people in the past. How they was getting locked away in Lenora, laboured away, maybe for supplying an Aboriginal with grog, with wine and things like that. No legal representation in court. You finish up in jail for 6 months. No reason at all, just for that, supplying grog to Aboriginals, or you supplying grog with somebody else. So what happened there, that they were recommending you to be JP, I was shocked, It took me a while, after thinking of things that happened in the past. I put that correspondent aside. And I'm thinking, I'm not answering that. I said, no, I don't want to be sitting there having Aboriginal coming before me in the courts, So I knocked it back, but I received another letter after 2 months from the Crown Law Department again asking me, he said, you never answered the first correspondence. You want to be a JP? He said, I would like you to be one. So after a waiting period there, I decided to take that position on, just to train the non-Aboriginal JPs how to work in the courts. First Aboriginal JP in WA. And I know a lot of people like Ken Colborn, Sadie Canning, a lot of our leaders that's a lot older than me, all become JPs. And I believe I was the first one in 1975. So as President Bob, I'm still a JP there. I can sit down and witness your document there if you want a document in the desert for the electoral board for the government there. Oh, and my name was brought up in Parliament, where they said the government met there and they said, Mr. Lynch have went out in the desert and enrolled 300 primitive Aboriginal people. Primitive, they call them, Aboriginal people on the roll. And and it's true because I read the transcript, from in the Parliament. I read it out to somebody else. I said, look at this. My name was brought up there, just signing Aboriginal people on the roll. I just laughed about it. And I thought, it's too bad. They're all on the roll now. They can vote. So I gave the desert people first voting rights up there during that time in 1975. A lot of people don't know. But to be a leader in the place, you have to do all those things that people recognise you as somebody out there, working, assisting the Aboriginal people, assisting the non-Aboriginal, then welcome to the country, automatically you become leaders in your own right.
You stated in one of your interviews that you found peace with the white side of your history as you have aged. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. To tell younger people, when you're looking for a partner to settle down, it's important that you pick somebody that lived a similar life as yourself. So I had to go out and look for a lady folks to be my partner. And I looked at two or three ladies during my time, but nothing better than my wife that I settled with now, because how I met her. And I was thinking in my mind, if I'm going to marry a lady, it'd have to be somebody that lived a similar life like myself. So Beverly have lived a hard life with their parents out in the bush pulling sandalwood. Sometimes when they go to the rock holes out in the bush, no water. Sometimes run out of food and things like that. You've travelled miles to get into the shops to buy something. So, and I was doing the same at the
You say in a statement that Aboriginal people are on the back foot of everything.
In the old days, you can't go from A to B there until you get a permit. Go from there, you'll get a permit from the Commissioner of Police or anybody that got the top position up there to give you a permit to move from one place to another. So we had all the restriction placed on us. And I'm sitting here at 86 years old. It's still highlighting all this thing that really actually happened to us in the past. So it's unbelievable the things that happened. But we went through it, we're still here.
You also said in an interview that there's this song, it's the Jim Reeves song that goes, "This world is not home, but I'm just passing through." I love this song. I think that we're going to do some good while we're here in this world.
We're talking about church things there.
Yeah.
So in the church things there, all of our people went away, been listening to God's gospel being preached at Mount Margaret. It's in our mind. When you leave the mission, it's there all the time, but you can't get it out of yourself. That me personally, growing up at their home there in our kitchen, we had a glass bowl there. And in the Western Australia paper, every day she bought the West. And she cut this little text out, little text in the West. And she put that little text in this bowl, It's there in the kitchen there, if you look at it. It's all there. Here I'm coming. Every day I get up out of bed, go into the kitchen, look at my diary. In the kitchen, no wind or nothing. One of those little texts blew out of that bowl, came along and landed right in my diary. There's one text. I got this text and I looked at it. And you wouldn't believe it. He said, "Fear God. Fear Him, Fear God who made the heavens and earth. And the seas and rivers. Worship Him who done all this, I'm thinking, what's this? Why this coming on my diary and sitting down and telling me to do this? So I put it aside. And when she came out of the bedroom, I said, look at this. One of your texts arrived on my diary. She read it. I didn't know what was in her mind, when I read it. But I can see that the text she'd been cutting out, it worked for her, because it changed my life from that day. I started going to church a lot then. Going to church, there was a baby, So funny, 2015. So I've been a Christian since that time, now. And I believe that I'm right, okay,
Yeah.
And I'm still here and I pray every night, pray for my wife, family, all that. Something have changed,
Yeah.
So I'm on that track.
Culture. What's the importance of culture, and how would you like to see it passed down?
I think culture is very important because you don't care whether you're an Aboriginal or not, everybody got culture. Go out and show people how we do this, what we eat. That cultural awareness that being presented by an Aboriginal, it's important that you hear it because it's survival, It show you what to eat in the bush and what not to eat, not to touch anything. It could be poisonous. You eat this. This is what you get killed to survive. This is a fruit that you eat off the tree.
Aubrey, what do you see for the younger generation to become leaders?
Well, unfortunately, because of the worlds are changing and things like that, you get interference with drugs and alcohol and things like that all around the past. It's affecting families everywhere, and people just being driven by the drugs and other substances in the area, and it's their minds just get carried away.
What do you see, Aubrey, for the future leaders, and what do you think that we might be missing as far as culture?
Now, with future leaders, I think the young people have to start concentrating on listening to the older people and finding out how they become a leader in their own right, in the past, and see that why are they still presenting things as a leader? Why aren't we up there doing that? They have to start really grasping that in their minds of what they're supposed to be, what their future is, and look to that future and head to that and get their achievement in life. Not the way I always blame the drugs and alcohol that affect the child, Out there, a lot of deaths are happening with all our Aboriginal people. Not our Aboriginal people, but throughout Western Australia, a lot of our young people are passing away. That's why I think if you're the future leaders, go out and look at others as leaders in their own right and follow their way of doing things, instead of down the streets, walking the streets and joining up with your friends and doing the wrong things in life. It's not the way to go.
What does leadership mean to you?
Well, leadership, I reckon, it meant a lot to me because more glad that, I became a leader because, I've been voicing my opinion in meetings. I stand up there and if I'm concerned about something, I raise it. I'm not afraid to raise it amongst government departments or Premier or anybody, Once you're out there presenting yourself, you don't care what it may be, you'll automatically become leaders in your own rights, People will recognise you as a good spokesman. You can support them, Aboriginals see you as supporting them. Always tell the government that they need help and things like that. But it's vice versa, you make sure that you do the right thing the other way as well, That's the only way we can move along in life, is that.
As we're still in a country that still practices cultural practices and family kinship, how has this shaped you as a leader when you're discussing these issues with the future or the next generation?
Say it again.
So, as we are on Wangata country and we practice cultural practices, we're still on a country that speaks language, we're still on a country that practices law, we're still on practices, we're big on family kinship, and this has shaped us in many families. And when we're discussing it with a younger generation, what do we see for them, and how do we help the next generation?
Unfortunately, you look at kids nowadays, they with these mobile phones and iPads and things like that, they're busy on that. They've all been distracted by all the outside things that rather than place some babies up there that can sit, that know something in their life, sitting there with an iPad, they're pressing buttons, all going on. Different lifestyle coming in, and that's what's distracting our people from our culture. But culture, a lot of our people, even my family, I got a lot of children in there, but they actually not following culture the way they should be, you know. They added the worldly things, you know, that's being introduced in the shops and things like that. They're doing this thing. Their mind not interested in culture. So you have to get them, the way to get them in culture is get them out of the bush. Take them away out of the bush and teach them about culture out of the bush. But language there, a lot of our people don't like to try to say language because they're not pronouncing it out properly. Well, see, if you say the wrong word, you're saying a swear word. And you mustn't say that in front of bad folks sitting there listening, you know. Could be saying something bad.
As we still live in a country that practices cultural practices and we're strong on family kinship, how has this shaped you in your leadership, and how can we have future discussions with the next generation?
Could you say that, repeat that again?
Okay. So as we're still on Wangata country, and we're still a country that practices business, and we're still into kinship, you know, mothers will I know within myself, I'm a mother to my siblings' kids, you know, so there's no auntie, it's just mum. So we're still very strong in that in the goldfields. And it's sort of played its part in how it shaped us as Aboriginal people. And so the next question is, how do we not lose this and give it to the next generation?
Well, with that, you know, it's our culture, you know, it's like I said, it's very strong, our language is very strong, that we're still carrying out the cultural ways still, you know. But, you know, in our mind, the older people like us, we can see it's gradually disappearing, you know, if we don't get support from other areas. The law and culture and things like that, and the language like we're doing, should be the only one recognised in the area still, because they don't do it. Also don't do it. Southern Crossbow don't do it. All around about us, no. But we guys do it still. They put us to get this red band. Get this red band because none of them do it. So we're doing it out there. It's important that we continue doing it. But I'm sad to say we're losing it too, you know. If we don't encourage our young ones to come up and give a hand, you know. Goes through the law and get to learn more about our culture that's out there willing to be delivered to you, you know, by the older man. Yeah. So, you know, only a few words you can say out there where the old man will won't have nothing to do with you. If you say the wrong words, it have nothing to do with you. But they like to sit down and teach you the right way, you know. So you can follow their example like that. I can go out there and talk language with them, but no worries at all. 3 or 4 Aboriginal. I'll tell you one thing before we close. I was at Wimbledon years ago. I was in there addressing all these Wimbledon crowds, all different groups. Wannon, Jamison, Wimbledon, all was there in this big meeting. And they had a microphone there. A different speaker go up and speak on the microphone. It was my turn to go up and speak. And I was an NAC member for 4 years, nominated by all Aboriginal to speak on their behalf at a national level in Canberra. So here I was, representing them all.
Last but not least, and you don't have to do it, do you know any songs in language
that you can share with the world?
I'll sing you one song.
Okay.
I can't remember what the words coming out. You know what the words was? My father singing about himself. He went through the law way back in the old days before he was born. He went through the law and he started singing about how he travelled and with dancing and carrying shields and things like that. So he said like that. I'll sing the song. Nina ni darama rangana gandu gandura Nina ni gandu gandura Nina ni darama rangana gandu gandura. So what my father meant by that song, that pick up your shield, carry it around with you. Tara, the guitar, Tara Mara, Tara, get all of that shield and hold it up in front of you, because you're dancing there and you're sitting and jumping up. Yena di Rama Rangana Gandu, you're dancing, you know. So my father put that song together. I always sing that song in my presentation, you know.